Jagrata. Jai Masters. Fortunately, a beautiful life, a full life, a meaningful life, and a spiritual life turn out to be the same thing. Fortunately, there are no choices to be made. Do I want to live a secular or a non-secular life? There's no such thing. In fact, the highest path that anyone can ever take is to utilize every moment of every second of their normal life, their marriage, their work, their problems, their health, everything, to utilize that to transcend oneself. It really doesn't boil down to God or not God, spiritual or not spiritual, worldly or spiritual. It boils down to me or not me. That's what it boils down to. Am I going to live my life based on I'm not okay inside, and I want to be, and so there are these things that need to happen that I think will make me be okay inside? That's it. That's the question. Am I going to live my life that way, or have I caught on that the part of me that's not okay inside will never be okay? It is a part that's not okay. So if I hang out with the part that's not okay and try to be okay, it's completely counterproductive. If you want to be on the ground floor, go down to the ground floor. Don't sit at the top of the Empire State Building and wish you were down on the ground floor and try to figure out how to make it happen. You could fall. It's not going to do it. If you're not okay inside, you don't understand there is a part of you that's very okay inside, completely okay inside. It is independent of what is happening outside. But if you hang out with a part of you that's not okay inside, there's everything inside of you. Yin to yang, alpha to omega. There's sadness, there's happiness. There's sickness, there's health. That's what the yin and yang is about. The world is made up of opposites. Every single thing that can be is. That's God is everything, complete, whole, every aspect. There's nothing that God is not. Therefore, inside of you, there is everything. That's why you have so much trouble making decisions. There's people that like this person and then don't like that person. Sometimes you like this person, sometimes you don't like the same person. It's the most adorable thing in the world. That's why people have so much trouble living in this world. They don't understand that everything is inside of you. Everything. You want to get depressed? You can get good and depressed. Everybody can. Anytime you want, just go there and get into it. You'll find depression sitting there. You want to never get depressed? Hang out with a party that never gets depressed. Don't go to the party that's depressed and try to make it not be depressed. Don't go to the party that's lonely and try to make it not be lonely. If you don't want to be lonely, don't hang out with a party that's lonely. It's not suppression. Everything exists inside of you. The Bible says man was created in the image of God. Well, God is everything. You understand that? It's everything. It's every single aspect of everything. You have everything inside of you. The question becomes, your consciousness can only be aware of a certain number of things at once. If I'm looking at you, I can't be looking at you. If I'm looking at the part of me that's depressed, if I'm looking at the part of me that's lonely, looking at the part of me that's jealous, then I can't even imagine that there's a part of me that's not that, because I am focusing on the part of me that is that. So once you understand that, hope you understand that, because you've seen it all inside of you, haven't you? All right? So once you understand, it's not anything you're doing wrong. It's not wrong that all these things are inside of you. They're all inside of you. Good. Whew, thank God. I'm not screwed up. You're not screwed up. They're all inside of you. The question is not that. You don't have to get rid of them. You don't have to do anything. You just have to decide where you want to put your consciousness, because you are your consciousness. If I hold pictures in front of you, flashcards with pictures on them, the pictures are different. You who's looking at them are not different. It's the same you who looks at the pictures. You who notices you're depressed, you who notices you're not depressed, you who notices you're in love, you who notice you don't feel so much love anymore, is the same you noticing different things. It's the same you in there, isn't it? Right? You say, God, I used to be so depressed, now I'm not. I used to be so happy, now I'm depressed. How do you know? Well, I was here, weren't you? That's the most important thing to understand. You are in there. When you were 12, were you in there? When you were 6, did you look in the mirror and see the reflection of a body in the mirror? But it wasn't that body, was it? It wasn't the one you're looking at now. It was a 6-year-old's body, but it was you looking. I'm just asking. I don't want to prove it to you. I'm asking you, was it you looking? Did you see the body reflected? 2 years ago, was it you who looked at your body in the mirror? Yes, it was. There's only one you in there. That's the most important thing you will ever learn. You're in there, and you've been in there the whole time. Even when you go to sleep, if I ask you, when you go to sleep, do you ever dream? You say yes. I'm not going to ask you about your dreams. Guess what I'm going to ask you? How do you know? How do you know you dreamt last night? Were you there? Were you watching the dream? The same you I'm talking to? Yeah. There's this thing called a continuity of consciousness. You were in there when you were little, but your thoughts were different. Your body was different. And you know it. You're in there watching your dreams. It's an amazing thing. Then you wake up and say, what a dream I had. Who had the dream? Me. There is just one consciousness in there. That's you. That's your awareness of being. Your consciousness is awareness. That's what consciousness is, awareness. The question becomes not, are you conscious? You are always conscious. I like when you get knocked unconscious. What happened when you got knocked unconscious? I saw birds. And my father came to me. He's been dead for 20 years. And I went through this white light. No, you were unconscious. That doesn't sound very unconscious to me. It sounds like you were conscious of something else. You are always conscious. You have never not been conscious. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, he says, even in deep sleep, your deepest dreamless sleep, it is not that you are not conscious, it is that you are conscious of nothing. And he was one of the greatest yogis that ever lived. He knew, right? So how can you tell the difference? All I know is I'm here, there's nothing in front of me. But I know there's nothing in front of me, and that's why it's so peaceful. Because your consciousness is not being disturbed by objects. There is no object in the deep sleep state. But in the dream state, there is an object, isn't there? Your mind is making thoughts, it's making things, and you're watching the dream. And then the same you wakes up, and you even sometimes know you're waking up, don't you? You're the conscious being who is aware of what's in front of you. Fine. If we talk about what's in front of you out here, we can do that later, it's a nice discussion. I want to start by talking about what's in front of you in here. You're in here, and there are emotions coming out of your heart. You're aware of it, aren't you? Sometimes you say, my heart hurts. I told you, you do not want me as a therapist. Because if you came to me as a therapist and said, oh, my husband left me and my heart is killing me, I'm sorry, I can't help myself. I would say, how do you know? Say, how do I know my husband left me? He's not there anymore. No, I know how you know that. I want to know how you know your heart hurts. And you get real mad at me. Until eventually you'll say, because I'm in here and I feel it. Oh, you're in there. The same you who looked in the mirror and saw the 6-year-old, the same you who goes to sleep and sees the dreams, is the you who's in there watching your heart hurt. They're not like different yous. Right? There's just this continuity of consciousness. What only thing that's different is the object of consciousness. What are you looking at right now? I'm looking at a hurt heart and I don't like it. What did you used to look at? Oh, a loving heart. I loved him so much. Okay, good. But it's the same you. And I could never belabor that point enough. That is the most important thing you will ever learn in your entire life. That you are unchanging. You are a continuous continuity of consciousness that is always there during sleep, during wake, at youth, in old age. There is just one consciousness in there. There you are. Now, when you are in there, you're aware of different things. You're aware of whatever's in front of you. Well, there are thoughts in front of you, aren't there? Probably right now there are thoughts in front of you. What's he talking about? I don't know, whatever it is, right? See, it makes no difference to me whether your mind is saying, God, he keeps saying this and I don't know what he's talking about, or your mind is saying, oh, this is fascinating. Same. You're watching a mind say different things. What's the difference? They're just thoughts passing through your mind. You're not making your mind decide what's going on in there, are you? It's doing it by itself. It just creates thoughts. And you're the one who's aware of the thoughts it's creating. Likewise, you have these emotions coming up through your heart. Your heart feels different ways. It feels different things. Very good. It can feel anything. It can think anything. I'm telling you right now. If you haven't caught on yet, there's not one of you that if I showed you this magic stethoscope I have that I put in your ears, and all of a sudden on the big screen in Times Square, every thought you have comes out in full stereo. Which one are you going to put that thing in your ears? But net result is, are you kidding me? Every single thought that comes up in your mind, you're going to throw in there into public? No, your mind thinks all kinds of things. You won't admit it, but I know it does. Doesn't it? It can think anything. And your heart can feel anything. You're madly in love with somebody. It's just a thing. You get married. It's right there. And you wake up in the morning and your heart goes, it doesn't feel like I thought it was going to feel. And I hope I didn't make a mistake. What if it's not my soulmate that I miss for the rest of my life? Anybody got a heart does that sometimes? Okay. Perfectly normal. Don't worry about it. Just don't pay attention to it. Right? It's just nutsy in there. It can feel anything at any time. It can think anything at any time, because your thoughts and your emotions are not you. You are the one that is aware of your thoughts and your emotions. So going back to where we were, I have experienced, and I know at this point in my life, and if it's true of me, it's true of you, that everything is in there. It's like places, addresses. There's the depression address, there's the this address, that. There are places where your consciousness can go, and those places, I swear to God, are always the same. Do you know that you could feel exactly like you felt when you were 8? If something stimulates it just right, you'll say, oh my God, I haven't felt this for 20 years. I feel exactly. That's right. Because every single thing is in there. And when you were 8 and something happened, you went there, and it's still there. There's just a whole universe in there, and you can hang out wherever you want. So the key becomes, if you are hanging out, this is the most important thing you'll ever learn. If you're hanging out with a part of you that's lonely, and you say, oh, I need to find someone, you made a gross mistake. Because what you just did is marry your loneliness. Well, not if I find somebody and marry them. Who do you think married them? What drove you into this relationship? What was the foundation? What was the basis? What was the motive? Loneliness. So loneliness tried to be not lonely by including somebody else in your life, in your relationship. So it's the same thing with your job. I don't feel they respect me. I don't feel respected. I don't feel that I can accomplish what I want to in this life. And I just don't feel it's right. And there's a glass ceiling, and I just don't feel, wow, okay, very good. That's a place inside of you, isn't it? And it talkies a lot, okay? Until it meets somebody that it likes, and then it doesn't talk about that anymore. It talks about the person it likes. It's just adorable in there. So you have that place. If you go to any of these places and you say, I am going to devote my life to this place. Whoa. I'm going to devote my life to the part of me that doesn't feel respected. I'm going to devote my life to the part of me that doesn't want to feel lonely or left out. Just all these things. I can't talk about them. You're in there, you know darn well what I'm talking about. I'm going to devote my life to that one. How do you devote your life? By listening to it, having it tell you, oh, I might be happy with this person, or maybe this job will work. Let's try it. And that whole dialogue goes on inside for years. That's driven by that place. Anybody know anything about that? And the next thing you know, that's where you're deciding where to live. That's who you're deciding who to hang out with. That's who you're deciding what job to take. That's who you're deciding who to marry. Every single thing is based upon the fact that you couldn't handle the experience of that place. And so you devoted your life to trying to arrange things outside so that maybe that place wouldn't bother you anymore. And guess what? You will never succeed. You may think you're succeeding. You still have hope. You will never succeed. Why? Because loneliness doesn't know how not to be lonely. Because jealousy does not know how not to be jealous. Because insecurity does not know how not to be insecure. The nature of insecurity is insecurity. You cannot make insecurity feel secure. You cannot hang out with insecurity and hang out with security. You're welcome to do that anytime you want. But if you're secure, and then something happens that makes you feel insecure, don't say, oh, I thought you were gone. Because it happens, doesn't it? What happened is an event took place that made the place of insecurity get stimulated enough to where it attracted your consciousness back to that, whereas you were doing well, feeling secure, and all of a sudden you're right back down. It's amazing. I've had older people, I like it very much, the following. Irving died a few years ago. We were married for 45 years. Oh, Mickey, you should know, it was so beautiful. But since he died, I feel the same sense of emptiness and loss and loneliness that I felt when I was in my 20s when I met him. Now, you all may think that's romantic. You know what that sounds like to me? It didn't work. It didn't work. For 45 years, you'd think you would have gotten rid of that thing. No, it's still there. And they say literally it feels exactly the same as before I met him. Of course it does. Because you operated from the point of view of this place. You put on top of it, you're going to use called a Band-Aid. You put on top of it a Band-Aid of this person, this place, this thing, this job, this whatever it is. You put that on top of it. It didn't get rid of it. It just distracted you from it. So now your consciousness is not on that. It's on the relationship. It's on the job. It's on this. It's on that. It's on your success. People clapping when you come in the room. But basically, please understand, these are places inside of you. If you go to that place and hang out there and then try to build a life based on not experiencing what you're hanging out with, that's what you're doing, trying to compensate for it, you're going to have to work to keep it together for the rest of your life. You'll be insecure that something might go wrong, this, that, and the other. That's what Christ meant when he said, don't build your house on sand. That's the best explanation you'll ever hear. That is building your house on sand. You built your house upon the lowest part of your being. It doesn't seem like that. It seems like, oh no, I'm fixing my life. No, you're not. You're hanging out with the lowest part of your being and then devoting your life to that part of your being. And I don't care how well you do. I don't care if I'm wonderful. You should mazel tov, do good. You meet somebody, makes you feel good. Wait till you see how insecure you are about the relationship. The more you need, the more insecure you will feel. The less it satisfies you, the minute you start feeling lonely again, you'll start wondering if you made the right decision and it's not working for me. You're serving the wrong part of your being. Now, that doesn't mean you have to live your life in loneliness or in depression, or that there's nothing you can do about it. I'm not saying that. There's absolutely something you can do about it. You can learn to raise your consciousness off of these lower aspects of your being, not get rid of them, not deny them, not ignore them, just raise your consciousness. All of yoga and all of spirituality is about your ability to say, I'm in here, and I'm not doing well in certain areas. I need to raise myself in those areas so that I can be doing well and not having to hang out with a part of me that is not doing well. And you can do that. That's what yoga is all about. That's what all of spirituality is about, is raising your consciousness. All right, so now we've got the foundation down, that there are different things inside of you. Now the question is, how do you do that? Well, there's two ways you can do that. So really there's three lives you can live. One is you don't. You just devote yourself to trying to put a patch over where you're stuck. Please don't do that. I'm begging you, don't do that. That is a completely wasted life, to sit here and say, I'm going to devote my life to the lowest part of my being. I want you to devote your life to the highest part of your being, not the lowest. Because the best you can do if you devote your life to the lowest part of your being is stop hurting. That's not very positive. That's just no negative. So one choice is to serve it, do it, try to build a world around you that you don't have to feel where you're stuck. All right? That's still the lowest part of your being running your life. The second way, it's extreme, is to sit there and say, I don't want to play this game. I'm going to go up to the mountains and meditate, and I'm just not going to try and get anything from the world or interact with the world because I want to raise myself inside, and that's that whole path. Okay? Then there's the real path. There's the only real path, which is, I'm not doing so well in here because I'm stuck in different places inside myself. Right? The tapes keep playing over and over again, the same ones. I think I'm doing better, and somebody says one word, the tape comes right back. You know what I'm talking about? All right. I'm stuck in here. I don't want to be stuck in here. Period. If I have one life to live, I ain't living it stuck in here. I'm going to live the highest possible life I possibly can. It's my life. Come on, man. I have the right to live the highest possible life I can. It's the most important thing in the world is your life. How do I do that? The world is going to unfold in front of me. I've caught on to that. It seems to be a very busy place, and it keeps unfolding in front of me. There's nothing I can do about it. If I look to the left, there's something else unfolding in front of me. If I look to the right, there's something else unfolding in front of me. The world is unfolding. Have you noticed? There's a world out there, isn't it? And it keeps doing things. It just keeps changing. Keeps doing things all the time. While you're sleeping, it's doing things. Did you know that? It doesn't stop because you went to sleep. If you're not there, at your house, there's still things going on. There's bugs running around, and people doing stuff, and cars driving by. The world's happening. everywhere in the entire universe there's something happening. It has nothing to do with you. It just happens by itself. It's on autopilot. It goes about its business. On Mars there's stuff happening, on Jupiter there's stuff happening, on Earth there's stuff happening, on every single inch of Earth there's something going on, isn't there? Then there's the part that's in front of you. You just get to the point where you understand the world is going to unfold in front of me. Your starting position, the whole talk's going to be about this deep way to live life. Your starting position is to say, the world is going to unfold in front of me. That should be okay with me. If I'm a healthy person, I should be able to handle reality. How about that's a definition? You're supposed to be the highest species on the planet. That means you're adaptable. Can you handle what's unfolding in front of you? No, I know you can't. The vast majority of the time, you can't handle the word you heard, what somebody else was wearing, what your hair looks like. Every single thing there is, isn't it? It's freaky. If you look in the mirror, half of you can't even look in the mirror without freaking out. Oh my God, there's a pimple and I get so fat. Oh my God, what happened? Right? It's just absolutely unbelievable. So you come to the point where you say to yourself, I can't enjoy my life if I can't handle what's unfolding in front of me. Period. So you took a totally different position. Instead of saying, I'm not okay in here, I need to get life to be a certain way so that I can deal with my okayness, which is how everybody lives. You don't want to live that way. You want to sit there and say, reality is unfolding in front of me. It always has been. It's been going on for 13.8 billion years. This is the part I see. I should be able to handle that. Doesn't mean you can. Don't worry about it. You're just setting a goal for yourself. I should be able to handle the reality that's unfolding in front of me. I always say to you, if it sounds hard, how is it that you're able to handle all the reality that's not unfolding in front of you? Every single house there's something going on. Every single place on the planet Earth, there's people talking, right or wrong. Not bothering you one iota, is it? Not one iota. All over Mars, everywhere, everything's going on. Doesn't bother you one single drop. Only the part in front of you bothers you? Something fishy about that. Isn't it? Right? Considering it's all the same, I don't understand. I get confused. All right? The world is unfolding in accordance to the forces that cause things to be. And what's causing things to be right now, all of our past and psychology and physics, everything that's making things be right now is the exact thing that's making everything be everywhere else, isn't it? Quarks and leptons and bosons are popping out of the quantum field. And that's causing every single thing to exist. Fair enough? All right. So what's in front of you is no different than what's not in front of you. It's a very important thing to own. The only difference is it's the thing you happen to see. The deepest thing you can do is to say to yourself, I honor and respect that a moment is unfolding in front of me, and I should be able to handle that. If I can't handle it, ready? Here's your next step. If I can't handle it, that's a good thing. Why? It means I have a problem in that area. The world's unfolding everywhere. I'll tell you, if take two people, stand them side by side, they're all going to freak out about different stuff. That which bothers you don't bother me one iota, and that which bothers me you didn't even know. I can't imagine how that could bother you. So what's that telling you? That it's not the thing that is the problem. It is the fact that there's something inside of you that you have stored inside that is being disturbed by this thing. And so a spiritual person, this is true spirituality, says, I don't want something inside of me that can be disturbed. How you like that? I do not want to have to conditionally try to control the world so it doesn't disturb me. I want to be able to let go of every single thing inside of me. I'm in here, there's stuff in here with me, and it gets disturbed. And I notice that. You notice when you get disturbed? You notice, don't you? I'm freaking out. You know you're freaking out. The same you. I don't want anything inside of me that can get disturbed by anything ever. That's how I want you to be. Never have to worry about a single thing for the rest of your life. How? By being willing to let go of the parts inside that are getting hit and causing disturbance. By not hanging out there, by not devoting yourself to that. By sitting here saying, yes, you went and danced with somebody else, and it caused jealousy to come up inside of me. That's my lesson of the day, to learn how to be able to be comfortable with the fact that somebody did something outside, the world unfolded outside, and it caused this part of me to get stimulated. Getting very personal, all right. You know anything about what I just said? So your choice is to go bang them over the head. How dare you dance with somebody else and start a big melodrama, right? Or to sit here and say, time to grow spiritually. This is real spiritual growth. How do you know it's time to grow spiritually? Because a very not spiritual part of my being just started causing me a lot of trouble, right? So if I want to grow, if I want to be whole, if I want to be complete, if I want to reach my goal of sitting here saying, I want to be in a space where the world unfolds in front of me and I can handle it. I'm fine with it. We'll talk about later what to do about it. Doesn't mean you don't act. But right now, if you can't handle inside what happened outside, you can't deal with it. You already told me you can't handle it. All you can do is try and calm yourself down and not freak out, so that every single thing you're going to do from that moment forward has nothing to do with what's happening outside. It has to do with what's happening inside. You're going to try and say things, do things, act things that make you feel better inside. You're not going to deal with the outside situation. Do you see the difference? You're going to deal with the reaction that's uncomfortable to you inside, because you don't like feeling uncomfortable. And so you'll say things or do things or not say things or not do things to try and fix yourself. You're not fixing the thing outside. So this is where you start to see spirituality is a really neat thing. It sits here and says, if I'm going to deal with the world that's unfolding in front of me, I have to be able to deal with the world that's unfolding in front of me. And that's the standard you set to yourself. If there's this personal junk going on inside of me, I'm not denying it's there. I experience it. I'm conscious. I'm going to do everything I can to let it go. And now you see why this is the deepest spirituality. Well, what can I do? You can do what you just said. You can let it go. What do you mean? The world unfolds. Something happens. Somebody says something. They don't say something. Somebody dances with somebody. Somebody doesn't dance with somebody. Whatever the heck it is. Somebody calls. Somebody doesn't call. Somebody 15 minutes late when they call. It happens all the time, doesn't it? It's raining when you don't want it to rain. It's raining when you have to go pick something up and get out of the car. The car in front of you is driving 10 miles an hour below the speed limit, and you're in a rush to get somewhere. It's always something, isn't it? There's always something that when the world comes in, it doesn't fit so well, doesn't sit so well, and it causes this disturbance. Spiritual work is when you sit there and say, I do not want to have this inside of me that has that type of reaction. There's no reason for it. Somebody's driving slower than the speed limit in front of me. Try to pass them. If you can't pass them, honor and respect that this is the moment you find yourself in. Have a good time. It's like a vacation. You have to get to work on time. You get to be late because you're going to be late anyways. If a train stops you, it doesn't do any good to sit there and say, how many cars are there? This is ridiculous. I've never seen a train this long. What is it doing? It's making you be upset. It's stupid to get yourself upset about something that has nothing to do with you and there's nothing you can do about it. But why don't you instead sit there and say, there's a train in front of me. Well, look how many cars there are. Let's count them like a little kid and just have fun, because it's going to happen anyways. Do you know how many things are just going to happen anyways that are completely out of your control that you're causing yourself a hard time about? All you have to do is stop doing that and your entire life will change. You are changing yourself. Again, what did Christ say? Physician, heal thyself. Don't try to take a splinter of somebody else's eye when there's a log in yours. In other words, change yourself. Change yourself. Don't worry about everybody else or anything else. So you start working on yourself to be able to honor, accept, respect the universe that is unfolding in front of you. And you will find that you can do it if you want to. You lift yourself up. So a part of you wants to complain about the driver in front of you. It starts doing this. You start feeling your heart get tight. How can your heart get tight about the driver in front of you driving 10 miles below the speed limit? It must be you doing it, because the driver's not doing it. They don't even know you. You're causing yourself disturbance. So you learn to catch yourself doing that, and then you raise it up. You can use affirmation. You can say, I love that this person is driving so slow. I always, if it gets real slow, I say, come on, don't just go 15. Can you go 2 miles an hour? How slow can you go? Come on, try. Oh, it's exciting. It's like, have fun with things that are out of your control, that are unfolding naturally. They're not destroying you. They're not, if somebody comes with a gun and it's a different thing, all right? But it's just nothing's happening. Why are you doing this to yourself? And you're going to find out that that's not spiritual. How's that? Right? That's not spiritual, to be creating all this commotion inside yourself because of something that's happening outside that's rather meaningless and that you can't do anything about. So you start working with yourself. I don't know how to call it any other word. Just like you work with your diet. Many of you work with your diet. You stop smoking. You eat healthier. Why do you do that? Because it feels better. It feels better than eating a bunch of sugar and a bunch of fat and a bunch of things that make your body feel heavy and not feel well. So you work with yourself. I'm not saying what you do, that's your business. But many of you do, and you exercise. Some of you guys even work out. You walk, you run. Why? Because it makes you feel better and you're taking better care of your body. What about your inner state? Why are you not willing to work with your inner state to make yourself feel better? Because when you are in there doing this stuff that you do to yourself, you're making yourself sick. It's not going to be a happy life. So again, there are parts of you inside that do all kinds of stuff. You learn to raise yourself above those parts. And I don't know how to say, there's all kinds of techniques. I don't teach techniques. You can find them all over the place. There are lots of things can help you. Meditation can help you. Mantra can help you. Yoga can help you. Everything, affirmation can help you. Whatever you find, you'll find lots of stuff. What matters is, are you willing to work on yourself? If you take that attitude, I don't want to go through my life being like that, having that mess inside of me. Eventually, all you'll do is you'll be driving down the road and somebody will be going slower in front of you, or it'll start raining when you have to get out of the car, or a train will go there, whatever it is, and you'll see that a part of you starts to do this. That's what it feels like, isn't it? A disturbance in the force. It gets a little weird in there, doesn't it? And what you do is you take a breath and you raise your consciousness. Someday you'll be able to do it just like that. You just aim your consciousness higher than down there. And all of a sudden, it'll go away. Sometimes it takes a billionth of a second. Sometimes it takes a little time. But you just raise yourself up. The masters used to say, take your attention and put it at the point between your eyebrows. And don't take it off. Why? Because in order for you to see the lower parts of your being, I swear to God, you have to look down. That's why they're called the lower part. You don't feel it now because you're not used to, but you will someday. If you meditate and work with these things, you will realize you're raising yourself where you sit inside, and that these other things are lower than that. And all you have to do is aim. If I don't want to see a tambourine, all I have to do is look up. It's the same thing inside. If you don't want to see these lower things that are going on, now suppress them. Suppression means I don't want them there. I'm pushing them down. That means you're hanging out with them. That's not a good thing to do. I'm talking about you're welcome to do that. I'm going to go here. You just move your consciousness to a higher level. And all of a sudden, all your energy will start to come with you. You'll reach a point where eventually, literally, you take one breath in and one breath out, your entire state of consciousness changes. You were feeling insecure, you're feeling a little weird, you're feeling awkward, you just and prick your head up, and all of a sudden all this love and joy and high energy is welling up inside of you. That's how a yogi lives. Complete ability to raise the consciousness to whatever level they want, to any time they want. I want you to be like that. That wouldn't be bad, would it? Right? And then all of a sudden, you start handling the things that you weren't able to handle. And what you're going to find out is because you're not hanging out with them, they're not as sensitive, they're not as strong. And all of a sudden, they're just nothing. It's nothing. Every once in a while, something will touch something. But you'll forget even what it's like to have a problem. I'm not asking for much for you. I just would like you to never have another problem for the rest of your life. And it's perfectly doable. There are no problems. There are no problems. There are just events that are unfolding in front of you that you can't handle. If you can handle it, it's your attitude. It's your attitude. Right? I know we have some people here that have serious terminal cancer, and they just have this beautiful attitude. They're just living their lives and happy and positive, and not positive that they know they won't be healed. Just, I've got this period of my life left and I want to live it fully, and et cetera, et cetera. You can do that, or you can get depressed. You can do anything you want. Do you understand that? You can do anything you want with anything you want. You're in there. It's your world in there. You can't do anything you want with the world out here. It belongs to physics, it belongs to chemistry, to psychology, right? There's a lot of forces that cause the world out here to be the way it is. There are no forces except you that cause your inner state to be the way it is. You want to feel love? Feel love. You want to feel joy? Feel joy. You want to feel enthused? Feel enthused. You are capable of being that high. You are whole within yourself. You are the only one in there, aren't you? There's nothing else in there but you. So why can't it be the way you want? Why can't it be beautiful in there? It's not dependent upon anything else. It's unconditional. You're whole and complete within yourself. You should just have this beautiful love flowing inside of you, and you want to share it with somebody, fine, that's beautiful. But not dependent upon. So you start little by little to catch on. This was the purpose of the talk, that the world that is unfolding in front of you is your friend. It is like a mirror. It's like a giant Rorschach test, inkblot test, right? Whatever unfolds in front of you really has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the universe. It has to do with the laws that cause things to be. You just happen to be standing in that spot at the moment looking at that. So it's like an inkblot test. Nothing to do with you. But you project your thoughts onto it. The world is exactly that way. It comes, it unfolds, and then it hits the stuff that's inside of you. And then you can't deal with things properly. So you make the purpose of your life, every moment of your life, the world is free to unfold, and you say, okay, very good, I'm grown, I'm giving you the right to be reality, I'm letting reality exist, and it comes in, and if it doesn't hit something inside of me, then I'm a happy camper. It's a lot of fun. I'm having a good old time. If it hits something inside of me, I'm having a good old time letting go of what it hit. Now, there's no such thing as a problem. You understand that? Whatever it hits, I don't want inside of me. So it's an opportunity to let it go. I don't have to go fishing in there to find out what's going on. It'll show up, won't it? Right? The world will unfold. Somebody will say something or somebody won't say something. Something will happen. And all of a sudden, there's this stuff coming on inside. Good. And that's how you start to live your life. And you can literally live your whole life that way. That every moment is whole and complete within itself. It unfolds in front of you. If it doesn't hit something that's beautiful, you get to work with it. You enjoy it. Give yourself to it, interact with it by all means. And if it hits something, and don't worry, it will, it generally does. If it hits something, then you use it as an opportunity to let go of what it hit. And that becomes your whole path to purification, letting go of the junk you stored inside yourself. All right, so now we understand you don't have to go looking for things. They find you. And, that's not really true. They don't really find you. That's like saying, I'm a psychiatrist, and I have these inkblot tests. And you come to me and you sit there and say, well, I hope none of them have anything to do with mothers or fathers, because I got serious issues with mothers and fathers. Well, if you have serious issues with mothers and fathers, every single inkblot I'm going to hold up has to do with their mother or father, doesn't it? It's not that I found the ones to show you. It's that no matter what one I showed you, you're going to project your problem onto it. The world's exactly that way. Remember, somebody standing next to you, they're having a problem with what you're having a problem. It's your problem. It's yours, and you know it. And half the time, this is what come out of your mouth. Don't talk to me that way. My father used to talk to me that way. I really can't handle that. Well, that's not your father out there. And the person is just talking normal like they normally do, but it doesn't sound like that to you because it has this little inflection on it or something like that. And all of a sudden, it's hitting your stuff. So it's your stuff. And you eventually get to the point where you say, I don't want it in there. So the world comes. It's your friend. It brings it up. Now, how do you let it go? Now that you've been willing to say, this is what I want to become empty and whole. See, empty and whole are the same thing. If you're empty of your junk, you're whole inside. You become filled with energy. You're going to find out eventually the stuff you stored in there because you couldn't handle it is what's blocking this beautiful energy flow that's called spiritual energy, Shakti, Chi, call it whatever you want, spirit. If you remove these blockages, all this energy washes up inside of you all the time. You're filled with joy, filled with happiness, filled with enthusiasm for everything you do. I want that if you go to work on an assembly line putting widgets on top of something, right, and you've been doing it for 13 years, you can't wait to get to work tomorrow. You're that enthused. If you sweep the exact same floor every single day, you can't wait to get there and do it again. That's a nice life. You're filled with joy and enthusiasm. The only thing stopping you are your blockages. So now the question becomes, fine, I'm willing to do that. I'm going to devote my life to that. And so now the life unfolds, it hits something. What do I do when it gets uncomfortable inside? It's very easy for me to say, you let it go. What does that mean? What does that mean, you let it go? The easiest way to explain it is you don't do something about it. Whoa, that part you understand. You don't do something about it. You don't think, what should I say that makes it feel better? Well, who should I blame? Who should I tell so I can share this with somebody so that it doesn't hurt as much? What should I think? What thoughts should I create that rationalize it? He didn't really mean that. He just had a bad day. All those things you do are an attempt to adjust the world outside or inside of you instead of letting it go. You're not letting it go. If I sit there and I have this insecurity come up inside of me, and I sit there and say, no, she really loves me a lot. She said she did. This is just something that I'm doing to myself, and I'll prove it because she'll come home tonight and she'll have so much love for me, and you'll see it'll be fine. And that's a nice positive thought. You know what you just did? You just kept your insecurity. You just created an environment inside yourself that made it so your insecurity could feel okay. You felt okay for a while. If she comes home or he comes home, it doesn't act exactly the way you expect them to. There's going to be a tornado, volcano going on. You said you loved me. How could you not? And I like my favorite is this one, right? Well, I didn't know what you were going through. How could you not know? You told me you loved me. If you loved me, you'd know exactly what I was going through. That's this stuff, right? It's just your stuff trying to rationalize a right for its existence. That's what blame is, that's what shame is, that's what all that stuff is. The greatest being does the following. The world has unfolded. If it hits something inside of me, it's because there's something wrong with me. Relax. Relax. It's the only thing you get to do. You in there, hi, relax. But it won't relax. I didn't ask it to relax. I already said it doesn't know how to relax. Jealousy is jealous, insecurity is insecure. You have to be willing to relax in the face of what's going on inside of you. And I'm telling you, that's all you have to do. If you're willing to say, okay, this is just my stuff getting hit. I don't want this stuff in here. I don't want it in here. So relax. You've given it the room to release. That's all it takes. You don't need to find it. You don't need to change anything. You need to be willing to let it go. Now, you see what I mean by letting it go? It's real stuff in it. You know what letting go means? I'm not doing anything to keep it. How's that? Very often it's the antithesis that you want to pay attention to, right? If you're not doing anything to keep it, you're letting it go. Aren't you? But you always are doing something to keep it. You're trying to push it away. You're trying to blame somebody. You're trying to make them say you're sorry. Say you're sorry. You know how much you hurt me. Say you're sorry. In other words, I'm keeping my stuff. Make it more comfortable for me to keep my stuff. All of that is about I'm keeping my stuff, but I still want to be comfortable. I want to be comfortable keeping my stuff, right? You don't want to be comfortable keeping your stuff. You want to let go. You don't want that stuff in there. I guarantee you don't want that stuff in there. You're a very high being. You're a beautiful being. I mean, way more beautiful than you have any idea. But because you built it on top of this garbage, you have to struggle and fight and afraid and all that kind of junk. You can live fearlessly. You can wake up in the morning and be so excited about what? There's going to be another day and I'll get to see what happens in front of me. That's what you're excited about? Yes. Every day, yes. And what happens during the day? I get to see what's happening. I'm special. I get to see what's happening at this spot on the planet Earth. That's how high you get. And it's just beautiful. And what's interesting is a little thing that's going to happen on the side, though you didn't ask it to, is you will be the best at everything you do. How can you not be? Can you imagine working with somebody who's all enthused about what they're doing and they come to work, I can't wait, this is so exciting, I want to pay attention and do better, I want to sleep this floor better. They won't be sleeping floors for long. They get raises. People like that don't stay on the bottom. Okay? But if you sit there and complain, I have to sleep the floor, I slept the floor 2 years. Leave me alone, I don't want to jump here. The same thing in relationships. I mean, how can you have trouble with a relationship if you're always filled with love and bubbly and you're so excited that everything's happening and everybody comes home and you're just like, are you kidding me? Right? But it's like, well, I had a bad day too, and last night what you said bothered me all day. And don't be like that. You don't be like that. You do have a part in there like that. I already said that. That's the lowest part of your being. Lift yourself up. Raise yourself. You become a beautiful light that's of use to everybody and beauty. So letting go is both the easiest and most difficult thing you will ever do. It is the easiest because there's nothing you have to do, right? It's really about not doing. That's what the Zen teaches you. It's not about doing, it's about not doing. It's if your willingness to release and let go, it will pass. Why will it pass? Because you're the one who kept it in there, because you didn't want to experience it. You kept pushing it down. If you don't push it down, it will over time release. But not necessarily the first time. If you've got a major problem in there, it'll hit. You relax a little bit will go, a little bit will go. Eventually it's going. I love when people come to me and say, Mickey, I had this thing. I didn't even realize it. But it was a situation that used to happen a lot, and I'd always react the same way. And it happened the other day, and it took me a minute to realize nothing happened inside of me. There was no reaction. Not like I had to rise above it. It wasn't even there. It's like, wow, that's growth. That's what should be. Every day of your life, you should change that much. I'm serious. Every day of your life, Things are going to happen that hit your stuff. If you will relax and release, you will change every day. You become a higher being. So by relaxing and releasing, what you're saying is, yes, I know you're in there, but I don't need to go to you. You don't draw my attention. I can handle the fact that you're in there, and every once in a while eventually you'll kiss on the little head. There's like a little kid telling, Mommy, I got a boo-boo, I got just, boo, it's okay. That's all. Doesn't affect you, and then you're like 20 miles away from it. And it's just bubbling up down there, and where you are is so high that you wouldn't go back down there for all the money in the world. That's where I want you. And it will happen naturally if you are willing to relax and release through the stuff that gets hit. Now the beauty isn't just that you get to go to this beautiful place, it's that your whole life, you still got married maybe or didn't, it doesn't matter. You live this way, you got a job, you have money, you don't have money, it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with it. Spirituality has nothing to do with renouncing money, has nothing to do with renouncing relationships, has nothing to do with any of this stuff. It has to do with what you're doing inside yourself when the stuff is happening. Your willingness to release the part of you that you've been hanging out with. And what it does eventually is frees you. It frees your soul. You no longer, why is it free? Because I don't have to pay attention to those parts of me that are popping up every once in a while. They just pop up and they go through. I get to stay where I am. It's called transcending the personal self. You have transcended the personal self. And once you do that, you start to experience the nature of your own being instead of experiencing the nature of what you're paying attention to. It's the highest I can say to you. When your human being, your lower being, can no longer catch your attention, you don't think it's important enough, then your consciousness will fall back into the seat of self. And all you'll ever experience is light, joy, love, openness, expansiveness. And it will start pulling you into it. Always pulling you to go deeper inside yourself. And you learn to let go, let go, let go. And every time you let go, you get higher and higher and higher. And there's no end. You know, the great masters, these beings went to states that are beyond your comprehension. They transcended the humanness until there was just divinity. Christ said, my Father and I are one. I'm a nice Jewish yogi that relates completely to everything Christ said, all right? It's like, my Father and I are one. That's yoga. That's what yoga is. Yoga means union. It means that your individual sense of consciousness has fallen back into the source of consciousness, which is universal. That is what yoga means. Those of you who think it means asanas, no, it doesn't. I mean, yoga is a Sanskrit word that means union. That is the union. Mayor Baba, one of the masters we pay respect for, said when he touched that state, he said it was like a drop of water fell into the ocean. Find it. You ain't going to find that piece of water, are you? Ever again. So the consciousness falls back into the source of consciousness. And what's left there is something very, very great. Every one of you are capable of that. So the beauty of what we talked about is it's not about giving up your normal life. It is about using your normal life to go to God. So there's no longer a choice. Like every second of your life, every problem you seem to have is your pathway to God. By letting it go, you end up higher because you went through it. And eventually you'll say, every single thing I went through was grace. Everything I went through was like perfectly choreographed to take me past myself. And you'll be right. You'll be right. Because the world will unfold and hit the stuff that needs to be hit, because that's what's in there. If you let it go, then there'll be another stuff. Let it go, there'll be another stuff. And it's just this, that's your pathway to heaven. All right. So work on these things, please. I'd love to see light glowing around you all the time. What I really like is that when you come to me, I like it, and say, oh my God, I met somebody so beautiful, I feel so much love. And you come to me and say, oh my God, the worst thing that I was scared of more than anything in my whole life, I've always been afraid it happened. You know what? It didn't do anything to me. I feel so much stronger now because it was what I was most afraid of, and I realize I'm fine. I guess I'll never be afraid of anything else for the rest of my life. Oh, I like that. That's where I want you to be. Jagrata.